And we're back. This is episode 2.
Episode 2.
Alright, so obviously we didn't fall off the wagon after episode 1. So we're back creating more podcasts for you guys. Alright. Obviously we're going to introduce ourselves again. This is Ray. I'm Brendon. Welcome to the Evolv podcast. I think we're pretty dead set on keeping the name Evolv.
Well, it's in permanent marker on the wall, so I think it's stuck there for now, unless we decide to change it. I don't know what we would change it to, but I mean it's stuck there now, so it is Evolv.
Fuck! I forgot to tell you. I was with Kira the other day, and I showed her my wall and everything. She was like, "Wow, that's a very creative. Like, I like your wall." Told her where it came from because one of our friends is a designer himself, and he made all these drawings on the wall that you see behind us.
The wall will be filled up. Hopefully, we're gonna try to fill it up one day.
Every Friday night. So we actually record these podcasts on Fridays, and then he comes past after we finish the podcast, and he ends up drawing the wall. So every week you should see a few more little drawings, and eventually this whole wall is going to be covered. So if you tune in long enough, you'll see this wall go from 0 to 100.
Hopefully by episode 10 it's full.
Oh, I don't know.
We'll see.
Might take him some time. But yes, I was talking to Kira, one of my clients, and she said, like, that wall is amazing. We should take it with us wherever we go.
It's going to be hard.
She was like, how are you going to take that wall apart? And I was like, I built it. I know where every single one of those nails are. She was like, yeah, but gyprock is very fragile. So as soon as I drill the hole gyprock will break. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really a very cautious, steady guy. I'll just, if I get frustrated, I'm just going to rip the wall and it's going to break all these drawings. So I might get a professional to come in here and just take it off and then put it into our new office one day.
All right, let's stop talking about the wall and let's get into theme number 1, which is nutrition and fitness. So this is a big theme, obviously, in the fitness industry. But we're going to discuss some of the importance of nutrition in conjunction with fitness. So the two obviously coincide. You've probably already heard of like the 80-20. You can go on, there's so many diets that you can go down. There's rabbit holes galore, but we're just going to discuss the importance of it and the balance that you should be having with nutrition and fitness. So what's your personal approach to nutrition and fitness combined?
Oh, you're asking me?
I am asking you.
Oh, okay. This might cause some controversy here because you know my eating patterns.
Yeah.
I like to say that I do the 80-20, but probably in reverse. Yeah. So I'm like dead set on my training. Like my training is like my thing. I'm always in the gym. I'm always running. Like I'm always doing something active. I live a very active lifestyle. Now that we've been kicking up this business, that activity level has dropped a little bit. But I would still say, to me, activities has always been more important than nutrition, which is not good. To all my clients, I say nutrition is key. It's important to have good nutrition, but their goals are like very body composition related. For me, I'm more about performance. So if I'm performing well in my sessions, then I know that I'm eating the right food, even though
you're doing 80-20 in the opposite direction.
Yeah, so my food's not the most nutritious. I
wouldn't say it's 80-20. I'd probably say your food's like 60-40.
60-40?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 40% being food, 60% being training.
Okay, well, to the audience, like my food is actually, it's good food.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of good food. So like my rice portions, I remember, this is a good example to just show you exactly how I eat, right? I used to have like a plate full and 90% of the plate was full of rice. And I was like, yes, this meal was like 600 calories. And then Ray was like, how are you counting this, mate? I remember when he first looked at it, he was like, how are you counting this?
Plate calories.
Like, and I put into I showed him my fitness plan. He was like, that's uncooked. That's cooked rice.
Yeah.
You should have measured it when it was uncooked. Then I measured when it was uncooked, and it was like 1,200 calories. And I was like, Jesus, just in rice.
So he was having like 4,000 calorie days at some points because he was just eating monstrosity mountains of rice.
And I was telling him like, how am I not getting shredded? Like, I really want to.
I
Like,
wonder why.
I want to get like a little bit leaner for summer. I'm thrown out the window now. I'm just more focused on just getting fit, keeping pretty active,
Yeah.
performing all my workouts, and that's more important to me than looking good,
Oh.
if I'm being honest. So, in terms of nutrition, I'd say it's important. Just depends.
It's just a balance. It just all comes down to like pushing yourself past
Areas.
like cheat days. Like you could have a cheat day every day and still stay within your calories.
You could, yeah. You can have macros every day and still lose weight.
It literally just all comes down to calories in, calories out. That's it.
Yes.
Full stop.
Oh, who was that guy? I forgot his
EBT?
name. Not EBT was one that did it, but there was a guy that did macros every day for 30 days and he was losing weight.
I have no idea who it is.
Oh, I'll have to find him. So there was this guy that I was following on socials and he posted every single day him having McDonald's. And he had like, Big Mac meals, everything. But I think it was only like 1,500 calories. But that's all he would eat during the whole day, just that one meal. And he was like, you can eat macros and still lose weight. And I was like, yeah, but you only have one meal, man. Like, that's
There's healthy ways.
It is about the calorie balance, though.
Yeah, there's healthy ways to do it, and then there's guys like that test the waters as much as possible. But
Like, it's possible.
It's to show the variety of food that you can have in your diet that can either help with weight loss or weight gain.
Yes.
So the variety you can keep in your diet doesn't mean you have to stick to like chicken and rice and porridge in the morning
and be boring.
but like you can still have variety and still stay within your macros, which is probably like the most important part, is just hitting your macro targets, hitting your calorie targets, and staying within a deficit if you're losing weight, or go into a surplus if you want to gain weight, or just maintaining if you want to maintain weight. It's not so
100%.
It's not so much about like, how do you word it? It's not so much about like, oh my God, you're having a can of Pepsi every day. That's terrible. You shouldn't be having a can of Pepsi. That's Pepsi Max. Oh, but then you turn it around and it's like 0 calories. You're like, oh, well, it's not that bad, is it? There's no calories going in. So you're sorted. There's so much out there that takes away all the bad stuff. But then if you're pairing it up with a good training session, you're burning everything that is supposedly bad off.
Yeah, 100%.
So then it's just like, you're just playing tennis. Back and
playing
forth.
tennis, exactly.
You're going, oh, I ate bad. Oh, I'm going to train hard. Oh, I shouldn't have drank that. Oh, but I'm just going to train harder. You just go back and forth. Well, I think that's the beauty of nutrition and fitness, is like, you can have that, we'll call it a mental competition with yourself.
Yeah, playing tennis back and forth. You're like, I had macros now, I have to run 10 Ks. It's like, no, just run 5 Ks and eat better.
That's
like,
it.
You don't need to do. I feel like I heard it from a guy. His name was Ethan. He's the owner of the business, and he actually said in one of our big team meetings once that he's proven that you can outrun a bad diet.
There you go.
And I was like, what? I've never heard it before. I was tripping out. I was like, how can you outrun a bad diet? And he was like, I'm eating 5,500 calories a day. And I was like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck do you do?
Yeah.
And he was doing like 100-kilometer carpools, like he was pulling a Jeep across the airport. The guy was running marathons. He was doing like 24-hour assault bikes. Like, if you're doing that much workload, you need a lot more calories. You need a lot more food. So to eat like a normal person's diet, you're going to be losing a lot of weight. If you're having macros all day, every day, he's probably still going to be losing weight. It just depends on your activity levels. And one thing I've noticed recently, now that I've been more, like I've gotten more of a desk job and I've been at my computer most of the day, I'm probably sitting for like 8 to 10 hours a day, I'd say. It actually means that I should be having less calories. And if I'm eating the same as I used to be when I was a lot more active, which I was before, I started noticing that I was gaining a little bit more weight. And I was confused because I was like, wait, what's happening? Why am I eating the same calories but increasing my weight? And I was like, that's it. I've become a lot more sedentary with my movements, my daily patterns. I wasn't hitting my 10,000 steps a day. I was not doing my second workout of the day. I was limiting myself to like one, not
Yeah.
even one sometimes,
Yeah.
because I threw out training for a period of time because I was so focused on that. And what I took from that is it's all about balance. You know, if your training is here, then your food has to be here. If your training is here, then your food has to be there too. So you have to balance out the equation all the
Yeah.
time, no matter what you're doing.
And then that comes down to like, if you overindulge, you'll feel more fatigued because your body's having to churn a lot more food than it
Carb
needs
crash.
to. Oh, we're both, I'm Italian, he's Portuguese. Every single time we go to our grandparents, it's carb load central. So I'm eating pasta, I'm eating like whatever my nonna cooks for me, it's game over. I'm sitting on the couch and I'm falling asleep within 10 minutes after
Oh,
that feed. And it's
But
just,
it's the best sleep ever,
it's the
buddy.
best sleep ever because your body's just sitting there digesting everything, burning everything, and you're there, you're like, oh, okay, just breathe and just let the body do its thing. But that's where you can like hit walls. So like if you overindulge, you're obviously going to hit a lot more walls and you're going to be more tired and you won't want to go and do fitness or go train because you've hit those brick walls because you've been overeating. But then when you undereat and you go and train, you won't have the energy to train properly. So it's all about, yeah, as Brendon said it, like having that balance is like the most important because you need the right energy to fuel your body to go and train. And then also after
But
training,
not too much energy
but not
that
too
you're
much.
going to be putting on weight,
Yeah,
unnecessary
yeah,
weight, because you're just
yeah.
giving your body more than what it needs.
Yeah, it's like,
in a
yeah,
way.
it's like filling a car up more than it should, and then you'd flood the engine.
Yeah.
So
Or
it's
like getting a glass of water.
yeah, the glass of water.
And then filling it to the top, but then you're like, all right, the glass is full. But then you go back into the fridge and you keep on filling it up. Obviously, it's just going to keep on overflowing.
Yeah,
What the fuck's the point?
Yeah, when I was at Vision, that was the one analogy that like they sort of told us to use, and it was actually like the best analogy because you think about it, you start off in the morning, all right, you fill up your glass a little bit, which is your breakfast, and then you drink a little bit, which is you walking around or just
Doing
doing your daily stuff, and then you have lunch, and then that's it. You go around and you walk and you do your other daily things, and then you have dinner. But if you overindulge in dinner, the cup's just going to overflow.
Yeah.
So it's a great analogy to put into perspective when you're wanting to lose weight or wanting to gain weight. Like it just depends on what your path is, but that's a great way to sort of picture in your mind
how your body maintains weight and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Because
exactly right.
I know people that enjoy dinner and lunch a lot more than they enjoy breakfast. Right? So for them, they have like really small breakfasts because I don't care as much about breakfast. So I've got a client who just eats a bar for breakfast. Just has a bar and a coffee. I think he's crazy, if I'm being honest, it's Nick. So I think he's nuts because for me, I need to have a full, like 2 eggs, like Breville, like I have a massive breakfast. I love breakfast. If I don't have breakfast, my stomach's churning for hours. I'm like, food
time.
Then we go into the kitchen, makes a massive face, and we're like, yes. All right, so...
And then the carb load, the carb crash.
100%. But for this client or this guy, he focuses on getting a smaller breakfast. It's only around 200 calories. And then he gets a fill up even heavier when it comes to lunch and dinner. So he can have a cheeky beer with his mate at the pub or something like that. And he knows, this extra 300 calories comes from breakfast.
He just flips the script pretty much.
Yeah, flips into different meals. And that's something you can do.
Yeah.
If you enjoy dinner more than you enjoy breakfast, go lower on your breakfast, increase your lunch.
Yeah.
So then you're having the same amount. What is it? Like, the average person should be able to, here's the thing, it's really confusing to say average person, but I'd say 1,800 calories is probably like...
As an example, we'll go as an example. So let's use myself as an example. I'm 82 kilos.
Yeah, that's probably on the heavier side. Look, I'm 85. Yes. So I would say like the average person is around what, 70? Like if you pull women and men, like...
Let's say 75. Average person 75 kilos. You're going to be hitting that target of maybe 1,600 to 1,800 for a deficit, and then over 2K for a surplus.
Yeah.
And then maintenance would be around between 1,800 to 2,000.
Yeah.
So like,
And that's what, like 600 calories at each meal?
Yeah.
If you're having 3 meals?
It just depends on how your weight's dispersed throughout your body as well, because everyone has
How
different body
active you
types.
are as well.
Yeah,
like,
everyone has different body types. Everyone has different activity levels. There's a whole bunch of factors that you can put into it, but there is also, you can fall into the trap of hitting a plateau.
Yes. Yes.
You can fall into that trap.
What a lot of people do is they go on some fad that says, "Oh, just eat 1,000 calories
Yeah.
and starve yourself."
Yeah.
Oh, Physique Factory. I saw Physique
There you
Factory, a video from Physique Factory. This was actually just yesterday.
Yeah.
And he posted, his audience is mostly males, just to preface that before I continue on with what I'm about to say. He was saying that, like, he was calling, like, his audience, like, "Oh, you're a bunch of pussies." You know, what was he saying? He said, like, as soon as you get a little bit of hunger, you know, you go into the fridge, you're like, "I don't want to feel hungry anymore," and they start racing all this food into their stomach. And he's like, if you want to be hard and you want to be shredded and you want to get a 6-pack, you got to feed into that hunger. Use that hunger as your motivator and aim to always be hungry. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, bro. Like, you can still lose weight without putting yourself at, like, risk of being, like, so hungry that you want to fucking go into the fridge and engorge yourself. Like, I feel like there's limits, right? If you're like, if you're getting to the point where, I don't know, I feel like it's easy to, he explains it as it's easier if you just lose all of your weight in a shorter period of time, because then you don't have to diet for that long. I resonate with that. I feel like that's actually a good philosophy to have, because then people don't have to diet and go through this suckish period for too long. But then again, I'm like, yeah, but you don't want to make that suckish period suck that bad, you know, which is why I say, you know, if you elongate it a little bit and make it feel not as bad. So I make all my clients feel like they're not even on a diet. Like they're doing the process of losing weight. They're probably losing half a kilo to a kilo a week, which is pretty good, I'd say. And they don't actually feel like they're on diets. They're enjoying their food. They're probably eating just under maintenance. And then I'm increasing their activity levels. So they're not feeling fatigued and they're not feeling like shit.
Yeah.
Which you would feel like, you know?
Recently, I've gone through a period where nutrition wasn't a high factor for me, like an important factor for me. But I realized that when I was increasing my training, I needed to supplement it with the right foods. So going from bad nutrition to no training to good nutrition with training, I can feel the difference personally. Look, you train hard, you eat well, it's obviously going to have its benefits, but you also got to put into perspective that you may hit a fitness plateau. And not many people know what a fitness plateau is, but a fitness plateau is when you go hard out for like 2-3 months and then you hit a brick wall and you're just like, okay, I don't want to train. You have a couple days off and then you find your rhythm again. So I feel like the fitness plateau is definitely something to be aware of, and like you do need to rest your body. Rest is probably one of the most important things when it comes to recovery as well. And I feel like if you're aware of it and you know that you're eating well, then you can afford to have those like couple days off. Because like you're eating well, you're not going over, you're not going under, or depending on what your goal is, but then you've always got some sort of safety net, we'll call it. Like the nutrition is your safety net. If you know that your nutrition is on par, you can have a couple days off. Like it's good to have those rest days sometimes. If you're going for crazy goals, go ballistic, go train. I'm telling you, you may hit a brick wall, you may not hit a brick wall, but there's got to be at least one day where you go, oh, I want to go on a holiday, just want to relax and not. Everyone said that. Everyone has always said that, regardless of like if you're training MMA or you're doing a triathlon. Like at the end of the camps or at the end of the training programs, what do? You rest.
I've trained athletes and stuff, and they actually have scheduled rest days.
Yeah.
And what I find amusing, right, is when I was creating programs for athletes, these people get paid for sport, you know, athletes. You know, everyone knows what an athlete is. and they sometimes had up to 2 days a week where they did nothing, or their nothing was just like, walking, something like really light and casual, like nothing related to their sport, nothing related to like exercise or anything like that. Yeah, they had weeks or periods where they were going like 6 days a week, training hard, whatever. But then they also went through periods where they're only training 3 to 4 days a week. And something that I've seen in the Gen Pop world is people think that it's an all or nothing approach. They have to train 6 days a week. They see their fitness influencers training 6 days a week, so they have to train 6 days a week. It's not true.
Everyone's different.
Everyone's
so
and,
different.
If you're going to look at what the norm is or what you should be doing, what you should be doing to get to your goal is actually a lot less than what you think you should be doing. And people put in their minds that they have to do 10 times more than what they need to, and end up hitting brick walls.
Yeah, just think about it. Think about it like this. You are the only person that can see out of your eyes. If you're trying to see your goal out of someone else's, what's
Vision.
the word? Not someone else's vision, but if you're trying to see the world through someone else's achievements, and you've seen C-Bum, and he's just hit his fifth, fifth Olympia. Like if you see that, 100%. But everyone's vision or everyone's sight of their goals are going to be so different. Everyone is individual. Here's a fun fact for you. Everyone's thumb. There is not one single person in the world that has an identical thumbprint.
Oh, there you go.
So everyone's thumbprint is unique to them and them only. So your fitness journey and your the way you want to program your fitness journey has to be unique to you, because you're unique. You are the only person that has this thumb. Well, I have 2 different thumbs, but that's another story for another day.
Does that mean you have 2 different thumbprints?
Probably. Like you do. Like everyone else does.
Oh, well. 2 different thumbs, 2 different thumbprints. So my right thumb can get into places that my left thumb can't get into.
Exactly right.
So you're saying that, like, those movies where you see someone, they cut off people's thumbs so they can get into a secure location. Or if they cut off the wrong thumb.
then they've just cut off the wrong thumb. So they have to go back to the person, cut the other one off, and then use that thumb.
Recover the body. All right, sorry, man, need to get your other thumb now. The other thumb that you gave me didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work. But
damn, I thought you were going to get caught.
But that's the beauty of seeing the world out of your eyes and your eyes only, is that it's you. Like, you've got to find what works for you. Like, even if that means going to get a blood test and looking at your results and going, okay, I know I have to get these sort of vitamins into my body. So cool, I'm going to get those vitamins. What's next? All right, the nutrition is something that I have to get on par. All right, what does my body like? What does my body not like? What does my body react to? What doesn't it react to? And then you can sort of make a little bit of a roadmap on your nutrition journey. And then you go train. Okay, I found my lower back sore. Maybe I can strengthen it with some mobility stuff. My legs are really, really good. They're mobile, but my lower back just needs some strengthening. So it's all dependent on you, because you are you at the end of the day. You can't do anything else about it.
You have to individualize everything.
That's it. So you have to individualize it.
But we're also going to tell them, like, there's different types of fitness plateaus.
Yes.
Right? Like, one of my experiences when I went through a fitness plateau was, when was this? I think it was like 2 years ago, 2-3 years ago. I was benching 80 kilos. I thought I was, it was probably like 3-4 years ago. Yeah. I can't remember exactly, but it was a while ago now. I was benching 80 kilos. I thought I was the strongest man alive. Yeah. So I was benching 80 kilos, and I was doing it for like 10 to 12 reps. And then one of my mates, Adrian, his name's Brewfit. We'll tag him in this one. So he actually came to me. We were training together at the time. And when I first benched 80 kilos, he was like, oh, mad, whatever. Got to 10 reps. And he saw me 6 months later. I think we went through 6 months where we went training as often together. And I was still benching 80 kilos for 10. And he looked at me, he was like, I swear you were benching the exact same weight 6 months ago for the same amount of reps. And I was like, yeah, you're right. But it feels hard. Like, when I get to the 10th rep, like, I'm done. And he was like, no, you're not done. In your mind, you're done, but your chest can definitely do more. Because you've been doing that
for 6 months.
2-3 times a week for the last 6 months. Surely you've gotten some increase in strength.
Yeah.
So what he did was he put an extra plate on each side. So I got to 100 kilos. And I did it for 5.
There we go.
I did it for 5 and I was like, oh, I can do 100 kilos? What? Didn't think it was possible. But that's an example of a fitness plateau because my mind thought I was done. My mind thought 80 kilos is like my weight and the weight I should stick at. But physically, I actually was able to do a lot heavier than I actually thought. But in terms of like clients, have you had any clients that have hit like a plateau in their fitness journey?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had one client that hit a fitness plateau because they knew they were like going on a trip. So they mentally switched off. So like they had already pre-planned this big Europe trip and they were ready to go. And like 2-3 months before, they were like, oh, I want to stop training. I don't really feel like it's going to do anything for me, like going into Europe and then coming back. And I was like, wait a minute, you will be hitting that plateau. That's fine. But just take a minute. Why don't you just take a little bit of a back step? Instead of training 3 times a week, you can train twice a week and you can have more rest days. So the rest days that he was having was only on Sundays. And I was like, look, just pull back a bit, have maybe 2 rest days. And then as you get closer to Europe, have 3 rest days. And then that way you're tapering down into Europe and then you go to Europe and you enjoy yourself and you have fun. And then as you come out of Europe, you'll be wanting a little bit more of a drive. Like you have a little bit more of a drive because...
Just like a tone down and then come up.
So the one thing, like when I was at uni for that 6 months, they talked about tapering, like tapering on and off.
Oh yeah.
So for athletes especially, there's always a taper period after, or sorry, just before they go into a run or before competition. Yeah. So that taper period is how I described it to him, was like, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to train for the next 4 weeks at 3 days a week, and then we're going to go down to 2 days a week. We're going to pull back and you're going to have 2 rest days. The other 3-4 days, whatever it was, you're going to focus on just going for a walk and just keeping yourself somewhat active.
Yeah.
So that tapering off for the Europe trip was the key for him coming back and wanting to train even more. So when he came back after Europe, he's like, all right, I'm ready to go. Let's go back to 3 times a week. And I'm like, well,
whereas if you just kept him training with that like 1-2 rest days
it's like this big peak and then boom, big fall off.
Yeah, but I feel like you can get really discouraged by that.
You get discouraged, and then when you come back, you're like, oh, I just want to relax now. I just don't want to do anything.
And we're actually perfect examples of that because we went to Europe this year.
Yeah.
And just before I went to Europe, I was training like a motherfucker. Seriously, I was training hard.
Yeah.
I was training up to 7 days a week because I just wanted this like, mad physique.
I want to look good for Europe. We're going to train every day.
I want to be in the sun all day. I want to be at the beach.
He trained the day before we flew out as well. Like, what are you doing, bro?
And you want to hear something? The whole Europe trip I probably trained once. And that one session was garbage as well. Because I think I just did 1 set of shoulder presses, discouraged by the weight that I was doing because it was so light compared to what I normally do. And I did like a few push-ups here and there and it was... Oh, I think there's a video of me doing pull-ups. That was a good one. That was after like 10 beers or something. So just to show you, like I went up just before Europe. Knew that at Europe I wasn't going to train as much because I didn't have as much access to gyms and workout gear and all that kind of stuff. So my training went from here down to here. My nutrition was garbage as well. It was good food, but I wasn't fueling my body efficiently enough. So it just went down. And then the whole time I was at Europe, I didn't even think about training. Yeah. My training was like out of my mind, didn't care. When I came back home and was ready to get back into it, I was so sluggish. I actually couldn't be fucked, if I'm being honest. 9 weeks of not training, I was just like, it took me a long time to get back into it. The only thing that got me back into it was my discipline in my mind because I knew I have targets, I have goals. The only way I'm going to get to them is if I go back to training and start getting into a rhythm.
I feel like I had the opposite. I feel like I tapered well into Europe. Like I was pulling back to like the last month before we left, and I went from 5 days a week to 4 days a week, and then I just kept tapering off. And then the last week prepping for Europe, like I switched off, and then we went to Europe. The first day that I landed back in Sydney, I couldn't sleep. I had jet lag, and I went to the gym just to burn my brain and like just tire my body out and then go to sleep. And I've been training pretty consistently since then, but I did hit a fitness plateau last week, and I had maybe 3-4 days off just to sort of unwind and like switch off and just realign my goals again. Even though I knew that when I started, my goal was obviously to be fitter, but I think that little bit of a break that I had last week was perfect because it gave me the initial break that I needed to sort of go, okay, bang, we're going to start training again. You're going to focus on mobility that you've always said you wanted to focus on. And he's been pulling me into mobility like left, right, and center. And I've always said no.
I'm being to put his ass in the air.
But now I'm like, okay, if I get there 15 minutes early than what I should, then I can just do a little bit of mobility before I start training or even after I start training. So now I've consciously made a little bit of a plan prior to going into training again with those couple days of rest. So I don't hit that plateau again, but I know I'm going to hit one. It's just...
You know it's going to come, but you can prepare for them.
You can mentally prepare for it because you know that you've had one, so you probably have another, and you probably have another. You're not going to be training
You're always going to
7 days a week.
And the best way to overcome fitness plateaus is changing things up. So there is 1 million, I don't even know how many exercises there are out there.
So many.
I come up with the exercises all the time. If you ask any one of my clients, I'll be like, oh no, it's another Brendon exercise again. Because I just come up with random shit on the spot.
Me too.
I'm all about modifying the environment. And what that tells you is if there's so many different exercises out there, there's 10 million ways to do the exact same thing as what you're doing. So if your goal is to get an increased bench press, then obviously you have to bench press. But if your goal is to improve strength in your chest, then there's 10,000 exercises you can do for that goal. You don't have to be stuck to one exercise. So if you're noticing yourself struggling or you're getting to a point where you're just stuck on this certain thing, maybe changing it up, either changing the load, changing the exercise up, could actually be the thing that gets you from here, this plateau, to increasing again or going towards a different, I guess, pathway in that journey.
Have you ever followed a nutrition myth before?
Nutrition myth, being Wog, like I don't know whoever's listening to this video who knows European mothers and European grandmothers. I have never been able to follow a strict diet. If I come home and I say, hey mum, I'm not allowed to eat carbs, mum's going to slap me with the spoon. Like, nah, eat these potatoes.
Yeah.
Eat these potatoes.
I'm making these potatoes for you.
These potatoes, I made it all day for you to eat. And if I don't eat them, fuck, I'm getting the belt, you know.
You're getting 7-course meals at the Nunnies.
100%. So for me, I've never been able to stick to a strict diet. So all I've been able to do to make sure that my nutrition fits in with my, I guess, training has been making sure that I have in my conscious mind know, okay, my mum's gonna, like, when I'm going home for dinner or like if I'm going out to my grandma's house, I know those types of meals are going to be Mediterranean style meals. And the Mediterranean diet is pretty balanced across the 3 macronutrients. You know, they're pretty balanced in carbs, fats and protein. So I just know that I have to maybe limit my calories throughout the day if I know I'm going to have a big dinner. And then that means I've made sure that I've covered all the bases. Or if I know what meal is coming up, then I'll kind of just get more of the other nutrients during the day. So, for example, if I know I'm going to have a massive pasta for dinner, then I'll have less carbs during the day and probably more proteins and fats.
Yeah.
And then switch it. If I know it's going to be more protein heavy, then I'll probably have less protein, more carbs and fats during the day. So then over a whole day, I've balanced out the 3 macros, and then that's how I solve the issue. Or I might do it in the next day. It just depends.
I feel like another myth is the meal timing. Like the timing of your meals.
Oh no, fuck that! I've never done that either.
So like the one thing that the one thing that you learn when you become a PT is obviously when to have your meals, and that there's so much out there that you should have heavy meals at breakfast time and sort of taper off towards the back end of the night. What do you agree? Do you disagree? What's your viewpoint on it?
Oh yeah, I hate those people. Honestly, I hate those people that say like, "Oh, you can't eat a lot of food at night because then you won't sleep good."
But if you're within your calories,
I have like, I've had 1,500 calorie meals and gone to bed in 5 minutes, I've been sweet. I don't know if
But
that's
you
just
back,
me.
but you back it up with like a good training session the next day, so it's all balanced.
Yeah, it's all balanced. It's all balanced.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I like to keep training and food separate, just because people think that, oh, if I've eaten a lot, I have to train hard the next day, and I don't want anyone to think like that. I train because I love to train, and I'm training for this goal. I'm not training because I ate a lot of food the previous day. I'm not training because I know I'm going to eat a lot of food today. I kind of separate those two things. I eat to make sure that I'm fueled and perform well in my workouts, but it's not the reasoning as to why I'm going to be training harder is not the reason why I'm going to eat more food or less food, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
That's a bit of a confusing one.
Yeah, there was an article that I read about the influence of meal frequency.
They say there's this thing where you should have 30 grams of protein in every meal, and they say that this is due to your body's is not able to metabolize more than 30 grams of protein in one sitting, so you have to separate it.
Yeah.
Yes, but I feel like personally, not everyone is going to be able to get not everyone's going to be able to have 5 meals. Some people need to have over 100 grams of protein to hit their targets, right? And that means I have to have 3, 6, fuck, 3, 4 meals. But like, you get the point. Like, you have to have a lot more meals than you normally would to make sure you're getting enough protein in your day. I feel like it's stupid. And I feel like if you're the type of person that enjoys a pasta by itself without any protein in it, then that's already 1 meal gone.
Yeah.
They should have been having protein in. I feel like it's whatever you enjoy doing, stick to it. If you're eating 100 grams of protein in one sitting and that's your daily eating, do that. I feel like they shouldn't be focused on creating this perfect diet, because once you become perfect, you become boring. Yeah. And you don't want to become boring because you want to enjoy everything that you're doing.
Yeah, so there was a study shown in, where is it? It's the National Library of Medicine. So it's the timing of breakfast, lunch and dinner, effects on obesity and metabolic risk. And there was a part here, where is it? I'll have a bit of a read through it, but I'm trying to find the one part. It was talking about the timing of meals. Anyway, I'll find it a bit later. But it was talking about the timing of meals, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Obviously, your 3 main meals. But what you should be focusing on is obviously hitting your calories. So if you overindulge, as we said before, you're going to put on weight. If you underindulge, you're going to lose weight. So the study pretty much broke down. If you have a heavy breakfast, there were 3 studies: heavy breakfast, lighter lunch, lighter dinner, and then it was light breakfast, heavy lunch, heavier dinner, and then the third one was just heavy all day, but within calories.
So like balanced.
Like balanced. And they showed that the one that was balanced had more of an effect on the weight loss journey, obviously in comparison with fitness, in comparison to having heavy to light or light to heavy. So
really?
Yeah, so that was a good study. I read that the other day.
Okay.
Thought I'd add something in.
Interesting. So, okay, that's fair enough, but it doesn't take into account the fact that not everyone likes to have all their meals the exact same.
Correct.
As I said before, like Nick, he enjoys having like a lot of breakfast because of the fact he likes having heavy lunch, heavy dinner.
Yes.
And
it's all dependent on the person.
On you. Depends.
But that was just a study.
On you. Yeah, but if you want to be like perfect physique, like enter competitions, do that. Yeah. Equal day. I'm not like that. I like having heavy breakfasts. My client likes having lighter breakfast, heavy lunch, heavy dinner, but he's able to maintain that over weeks, over months, over a year. So for him, that's what works, and it's been working, and it will keep on working for him because he enjoys that type of eating.
I think another thing as well, emerging in the whole fitness industry, is like apps and gadgets and everything that tracks your calories and all that stuff. Like that's a big thing of the now world that we're in. So like tracking calories is definitely something that you can literally just do on your phone. But
yeah, I've got heaps of apps out there like MyFitnessPal and
All your fitness, all your
one that you found?
all your fitness influencers, like they all have macro calculators and everything. So evidence-based training actually has like a decent one, and I was having a look through it the other
Does he have
day.
a macro calculator?
Yeah, on his Instagram. Yeah. So on
cool.
his Instagram, you can like check out your macros and do like a macro calculator. There's a good app that I use to track my calories. If you don't want to pay for MyFitnessPal to scan all your products, it's Macros. Macros is good to track everything, because you can scan the barcode and get like a rough estimate. The barcode may not be right, but you just have to type in all the information and you can track everything like that. But I feel like far out, there's so much these days.
I'm so old school.
Yeah.
I learned how to use MyFitnessPal back in year 9 at school. So how long ago is that? 6?
Would have been like 8 years ago.
No, 10 years ago now.
Oh, Jesus.
Far out. Okay, so 10 years ago, I learned about MyFitnessPal. My PE teacher came in and he was like, guys, this is an app. This app you can use to track your calories and put your food in for the day so you know what's coming into your body. Cool. And I was like, oh, sweet. That seems all right. Okay, so I downloaded the app, learnt about it. And ever since I've kind of been on and off in terms of like tracking calories and making sure that I'm eating the right foods, all that kind of stuff, right? Now, for me, because I've been using it for 10 years, I'm one of those people that's like, I don't know if it's a loyalty thing I just can't be bothered learning something new because I've already been used to this one, right? So when he told me about this new app that's free to scan stuff,
not doing it.
Not doing it. I was like, I'm keeping it simple. I always say keep it simple, stupid. That's like my philosophy, and that's why I get paired up with the older clients because I relate to that on their level, you know.
With that, did you find that it like benefited your training, keeping track of everything, like knowing that you're going to the gym, you've hit under your calories, so when you go home you can eat a certain amount of food? Did that help your training, tracking everything? Like using something like MyFitnessPal, did it give you a little bit of a G up to go train even harder, or like give me an example of?
Oh yes. Actually, this is a big one. So when I would be going through a stage where I had like high carbs, and everyone knows like high carbs means you're giving your body a lot more energy to play with. I feel like mentally in my head I was like, oh, I'm on a high carb diet.
Yeah.
So
I can train harder.
when I was in the gym, I feel like mentally I was like in it to like lift heavier, go harder. So I feel like it was placebo, but also high carbs means you're having more energy.
You've got more glucose.
Yes, I have more energy from the glucose that's running through my system, but also my mental headspace was there because I knew that I was eating more because it showed it up in MyFitnessPal. So when I was tracking it, showed that I was eating like 300 grams plus in carbs. So then when I was in the gym, I was like, oh, I had 300 grams of carbs yesterday or over the past week. I'm going to fucking hit PBs today. So I was just hitting him. So I feel like in a way, you got that placebo because you're eating well or you're eating a certain way. But then you've also got the actual physical.
So the pros and cons of having something like an app or like a macro calculator, whatever, like the gadgets out there these days, you can go down with a fine-tooth comb and find out like all the minerals and stuff that you have.
Yeah, they're good.
There's
but
pros
I feel
and
like
cons.
People, it's not good to focus too hard on
100%, 100%.
But like to be like, my training's only perfect because of this gadget that I'm using. And I feel like that's the Apple Watch world.
That's the cons. I'm an Apple Watch.
He's an Apple Watch guy.
But I used to be bad where it was like, if I didn't close a ring, that's it.
Oh my God, the rings.
The rings.
The rings.
If you don't close a ring, your day isn't done. So
I remember that phase. There was when I was walking by and people were like, I haven't closed my rings yet. I have to go for a walk.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what the fuck?
There was a
why
time.
Why are you letting your watch decide what you're doing throughout the day?
There was
it's, you know what, I was like, at least these people are getting movement in the day. Like, it's good. But
it motivates
you're letting a device on your wrist tell you when to start walking and all that stuff. I had a Garmin. So you can tell me more about your Apple Watch, actually.
So when I was going through the phase of I have to close these rings,
so I
was for a period of time, and then I realized how crazy I was. But then what I put into perspective was there were days where I would just sit there and I'd be like, oh my God, there's 2 steps that I have to do. So I just start shaking my wrist. It's not accurate, but
so
it was the satisfaction of closing the rings.
I've never seen anyone post their rings on Instagram or anything. Like, I know that this ring closing was just more of a mental thing. Like,
yeah.
oh yes, I hit it yesterday. Oh yes, I hit it over the week.
It's
It's
good to
but
like
secretly, don't you say in your head like, oh wait, half of those days I was just shaking my wrist to get the steps.
there were some days like that, but I think it was the more of the satisfaction of closing the rings and knowing that I
Seeing
did
that the
something.
ring got closed,
Yeah,
and you're like,
and then you get a
I was
notification.
active today.
Yeah. That was like the main phase that I was going through was just like, okay, if I close the rings, that means I hit my activity level.
Yeah.
And you know, you'd start your training session, so you press start, and then you keep checking. Oh my god, I've nearly burnt 200 calories, sweet. And then you do a few more exercises, and then you go, oh, I've nearly burnt 800, and like you'd go crazy. So I used to do F45, so closing those rings were like done in the 45 minutes.
So
like,
you're easy with those rings, hey?
And then I was like,
But doesn't
closed.
it get harder? Like, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
So it just depends on the settings that you give it. So like I would give my settings, I would aim to do 45 to an hour worth of exercise. I'd aim to do 10,000 steps a day, and then my standing time would be like 10 hours a day. So I'd always like hit targets. It was good because it made me do those things, but I wasn't actually doing them for me. I was doing it because of the watch.
Of your watch.
So then I went through a phase of taking the watch off and just focusing on doing those things without the watch. And I had to retrain my brain into not looking at my wrist to see if I'm almost about to close. 100%. So
I'm just focusing like, I feel like I want to go for a walk.
Yeah, if I want
to go for a walk.
If I go for a 30-minute walk, I know that I've hit maybe close to that 10,000 step mark, and that's cool.
And you feel better about it.
Yeah,
too.
and you know that you've hit at least some sort of milestone. You hit 30 minutes of walking. Perfect. That's sweet. Oh, I did an hour training session. Oh, that's sweet. I didn't have to look at my wrist and be like, oh, damn, I'm so quick. I gotta shake just to get those last few steps.
So I can't talk too much shit about it because I have a Garmin as well, which is basically the same concept except
it's a lot more analog.
Yeah,
it's a lot more. Whereas
it's a lot more old school.
It's a lot more.
Remember this, Brendon, old school, Ray, new school.
There's a lot more that you can do on an Apple Watch, whereas a Garmin, it's just like
it's more
training.
Physically for training.
And
exercise. So like, it's more in depth about heart rate and. Actually, I don't know if it's more in depth.
It just depends on the devices that you get off it. So like with an Apple Watch, it's just the Apple Watch. Whereas like a Garmin, you can get the heart rate monitor. You can get like a whole bunch of things.
It's more in tune with like athletes and training and stuff like that. Now, one thing I noticed in my history with the Garmin, I don't know if this is with the Apple Watch as well, but if I'd hit 10,000 steps one day, the next day it would give me 10,500. And I was like, fuck, all right, I'm going to keep on doing it. So I got to a stage... I don't know if I've told you this actually.
I think you have. I haven't noticed. I'm curious now.
I got to the stage. I'm being serious right now. I got to the stage where my Garmin was telling me to hit 33,000 steps
a day.
On a day,
Jeez.
Because I was hitting it every single day. I was like 12,000. All right. 14,000. Shit. All right.
I gotta keep walking.
16,000. Jeez. All right. So every single day I was like increasing my steps, increasing my activity, and then when I got to that 33,000 number. I think it was like 11 o'clock and I was only at like 25,000. I can't remember.
And he walked to my house. There was one night, he's like, oh, I had to get a walk in. I hadn't hit my steps yet. And all of a sudden I just hear a ring on my phone and I've gone, what the hell? It's like 11 o'clock at night. Hello? He's like, I'm at the front. I was like, what the hell are you doing at the front? He's like, oh, I remember that you had my shorts and I needed to go for a walk. So I thought I'd walk to your house. I go, what the hell? Why?
Because at least a 30-minute walk or something. So I went all the way just for that because I was seeing my steps. And I realized, wait a second, I'm doing all this because of my watch, not because I want to do it. And I thought, no, I feel like I should just choose an amount of activity that I feel like is actually normal and within reason. I don't need to do 30,000 plus steps a day. I only need to do 10 or 15 or however much I feel like suits my daily needs. Now I probably don't even barely do 5,000, but I feel like that's because of the lifestyle I'm living now. I'm still getting my training in. I'm still doing a lot of cardio.
I think you've counteracted the walking part for the training part. So like you're not obviously getting enough steps in, but then you're coinciding that with a harder training, harder training session.
I'm doing running, I'm swimming, cycling. I hate cycling, by the way. Just to preface this, I hate all three of those events. I hate cycling, I hate running, and I hate swimming, but I want to enter triathlon. That's my goal, so I'm going to do it.
I think there was a period where I was on the watch and I was just crazy about it. And then I had an experience. I had an experience, and within that experience, it made me take a step back from falling into the trap of technology.
Oh, is this was this when we went to Malua Bay?
Yeah. So there was
Yes.
So we went away, myself, Brendon, and another friend of ours, Jonathan, and we went away, and it was a good trip to sort of
pull us
back from the city life. Like, we live very, very close to the city, so we thought, let's go for a couple-hour drive away.
Well, we live like more in the suburbs, but like I feel like the suburbs now, like especially where we're
Turning
from,
into the city.
yeah, like we're pretty close. We're like probably a 20-minute drive to the city.
City.
Sydney's pretty fucked.
Yeah.
If you're saying this from Sydney, you would understand.
Yeah.
We live pretty close to Hurstville, and if anyone knows where Hurstville is,
Hurstville is like the most central part of this area. So
This
it's
area,
like
yeah.
it's like the city of this area.
the city of St. George.
Yeah, we'll call it that. But yeah, that was like a little getaway, and we all just kind of sat there and like turned our phones off. I remember it was just quiet, peaceful. We
It was
listened
a
to
good 3 days of just like no phones.
Yeah.
A lot of meditation.
and a lot of talking and just getting stuff off our chest, and that was like one of the big parts of.
It was a fruity experience, I'll say that.
It was a good getaway to sort of make us realign what is important in our
Yes,
life. And I
yes.
feel like the one thing that we pulled away from it is like our mental health. Like our
Ego was a massive thing. as
ego was a massive thing, mental health was a massive thing, and mindset was a massive thing. That were probably the 3 big takeaways that we
Yeah.
took from that trip. And it was just enough time, those 3 days, to focus on those 3 things. And as we were driving back, I just remember us all talking in the car about it. We were like, God, that went so quick, but bang, when we get back to Sydney, it's going to be crazy. We're just going to, and then that's when our mental health changed,
'cause
our mindset changed.
Anywhere in Sydney, you kind of always feel like you're in a rat race. Like
We're very-
you're racing against something
Yeah.
or someone which is why we always like to pull back from that.
Yeah.
Get out of the city life, go down or up the coast, go to some beach
And
location,
just go off the grid.
Connect more with Mother Nature.
Yeah,
I'd like
go
to
off
say.
the grid.
Yeah, and become stoics.
There was a book we were reading at
The
the
Daily
time
Stoic.
called The Daily Stoic.
Yeah.
And that was a book where it's a good book. Recommend you read it if you are watching this.
We'll
read
put the
it.
link in the bio.
We'll
as
put the
well.
link in the bio as well. But it's a book. It's a book where each day you read a page that's associated to that day, and it just gives you a little bit of a understanding of you're not the most important thing in the world, and there's other bigger
Oh
things to
my
worry
God.
about than what
Jeez.
you stress
That
about
was
in
was
your
a big
everyday
issue
life.
of ours.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know.
we were worrying about
I'm
the
not
little
gonna-
things a lot more than normal.
Than we should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like I was getting to a point, I'll talk about me personally. I was getting to the point where my ego was running my actions. And I wasn't actually counteracting it. I was
And you
just
weren't in
letting
control.
it. Yeah, I wasn't really in control of my actions. Sometimes I was just doing things because that's what needed to be done. And I was just ticking off checklists and going to uni and doing this and doing that. And I didn't actually take a step back and realize, wait, what do I actually want? What do I actually want to do? What do I want to actually achieve? And then doing trips like that made me actually realign and think, this experience actually put my head back in its body.
Yeah,
And I actually had more control over what I wanted to do.
yeah.
And I feel like that knock on the head definitely set me straight.
I forgot about that. Oh my God.
So we were scaling rocks, and we went to this like secret beach location where there was like no one there. To get there, you had to like scale rocks, like full on around the coastline of Australia, right? And when we were getting there, it was like low tide, so it was really easy. Got to the beach, whatever. We spent the day there. We were probably there for like 6 hours or so.
No, it was like 3-4 hours.
You reckon?
It was like 3-4
We bought those
hours.
rock sculptures.
Yeah,
we went for a bushwalk.
Yeah.
Went
Yeah,
for a
would have
swim.
been. Would have been
Yeah,
around
would-
5-6 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was quite a bit of a day. Then we were done because I think Jonas started noticing that the light was coming down, so
Yeah.
it was sunset.
We're like,
we'll get towards
let's
sunset.
go home.
It's hard to go home. Then I started noticing, shit, the water's rising, guys. The water's rising. This is gonna be a hard travel back, whatever. So then, as we were scaling the rocks again, there was rock pools in between the rocks, so we had to actually jump between the rocks, and for some dumb reason I had a stick in my hand. Do you remember that stick? So stupid. I had a stick in my hand, so I was
Stick was
skating
more
this
important.
rocks with this massive stick in my hand and whatever, and I was jumping between rocks, and there was this one rock where I didn't want to get my shoes dirty, so instead of putting my foot into the water and just like stepping over, I started to do some massive jump with this massive stick in my hand. When I did the jump, I landed and I was like, sweet, bang, hit the top of my head with the rock, started bleeding everywhere. And I was like, oh shit, boys, like I've got all this blood, and I was getting a bit dizzy because I lost the blood, whatever. But then I was like, nah, I'll be fine. Went all the way back home, whatever. Got back to our place, and I think it was Jono. Jono said it was like, oh, you know, it's not good to have blood escaping your head.
Yeah, and then he searched up on Dr. Google and...
Nah, ChatGPT.
Oh,
So I looked up
ChatGPT diagnosed his problem.
So I
Blood on head, what happens? And then he started reading
just think
it.
of a monkey, like, I have blood on my head.
Yeah.
What does this mean? And I used to call the ChatGPT Fred. So I was like, hey Fred, I'm bleeding from my head. What do I do?
Yeah.
And he said, if you are bleeding from your head, you should seek immediate medical attention. And I was like, oh shit, boys, I've got to seek immediate attention, whatever. Then I started going black because I think I was just really freaked out, overwhelmed.
And he passed out.
Full passed out. The boys thought I was dead. Like, took me to.
I was alright. I was AIDS. I think it was just like a big rush of emotions, and then you obviously read that, and then you were like, oh my God, like maybe I do need to go to the doctors. And then you were like, because we weren't next to a hospital or anything, you're like, oh my God, it's going to take forever.
Yeah,
so all these thoughts are running through his head.
The nearest hospital was 5 minutes down the road.
Yeah, yeah.
But for us there, it's like a half an hour drive.
It's like half an hour, 20 minutes.
That's it.
But at least it knocked some sense into him, because
100%.
it came out of that experience, and you know
Everything
what?
changed.
Everything changed. It was a good wake up call for all of us. So as apart from us learning about our mindset, our mental health, and like everything else, that thing that happens, the view hitting your head, really realigned everything for all of us and yourself, and it just pulled us back, and we were like, okay, we need to just focus on our health, we need to focus on our fitness, we need to focus on our mindset, we need to focus on this. And there was a lot more creativity that came from it, from some would call it a bad experience. It wasn't really a bad experience, but it was an experience that sort of woke us, opened our eyes, and it made us go into a bit of a routine. So like we fell into the path of coming back after that experience, like a big high of emotions, and then sort of tapering off and driving home and relaxing, and then we've gone.
We have to tell them that we all came back from this experience. None of us were employed.
Yeah.
All unemployed. We were probably working like 10 hours a day though.
Yeah.
So we're pulling 10-hour days, 5 to 6 days a week, working on a business, whatever. I would still say we were unemployed in a way, because we weren't getting paid, we weren't employed by anyone.
Yeah.
But what we realised when we came back and we were doing all that hard work, we realised, wait a second, employment gives you, a wage, tasks to do,
Structure,
they give you structure,
routine,
like they give you all that stuff, which is good. Like, you start work at 9, you finish at 5, you have all these things they have to do in between those hours. You have a meeting at 12, you have a meeting here, you have lunch at this specified time. We didn't have that.
Yeah, that trip was like good, because like it whipped us into shape.
Because it was like, wait a second, no one's going to come in here and say, hey boys, you have to start this time to finish this time, you have to
We're
do
on our
all
own
this.
schedule.
Because all of our things that we had to do was all different. So we came back and we were like, that's it. We need to actually create structure. All right, we have to start at 10. Like we decided that we had to start at 10. And then, there was not really a closing time. It was kind of just like what we decided on the day. And we scheduled in time for lunch. And in between all that, we made sure that we had certain tasks done in the morning blocks, certain tasks done in the afternoons. And we kind of created our own schedules over time in that way, and that was a good way of creating I guess a work.
I feel like it relates back to what I was saying before about the tapering. Like having those couple days off where we just focus on ourselves pulled us back into a better routine, like a better structure coming back from that trip, going into work. So now it's like, okay, that good time off coincides with training, like having that time off for training. You come back with a different mindset, different perspective, different thoughts, different ideas, your creativity increases, your productivity increases, like all this stuff just happens. And then you obviously hit a plateau again. It'll happen. It just, it's the way of life.
Which is why I feel like people should have that taper off or days off or weeks off where they kind of just pull back from their normal day-to-day life and just come back into, all right, how am I going to fulfill what I want to in the next coming weeks, coming months, coming year?
And I think another thing to be aware of is how precious time is.
Oh, yes.
Time is
what we've realised, I'd say more recently though, like it's not like we're like some philosophers that say this. I've realised more recently, and we have this discussion all the time, we believe time is your best currency.
Time is your most important currency.
Most important currency. And people talk about that. I see a lot of people on social media saying like, time is important.
Time is your most expensive currency.
Most expensive currency. They say all this stuff, but they don't explain why.
Yeah.
So
Roddy Ricch explained it well.
Did he?
In one of his songs.
Okay.
And he said, time is your most expensive currency. It's something that you can spend but can never get back.
Oh, yes.
Roddy Ricch.
Yes.
Roddy Ricch, the man.
And I feel like people spend their time on things that are useless. Not useless,
they
but
spend
like
their time
to
that's
them.
not important.
Yes.
Not important. So like that trip made us realize, okay, what's important? Family, work, friends, routine, structure, mental health, physical health.
Well, you go.
You can go crazy.
That's a lot of things.
You can go down the rabbit hole, but I think the
best thing to do is priority list.
Prioritize.
Yeah.
And we found that focusing on the important things that we
first, and then going down the list over time.
Yeah. And just ticking it off one thing at a time. I feel like that's the importance of time. Like time is going quicker and quicker if you haven't noticed. Like this is now 2024 when we're posting this. So it's been like a whole year for us working on this business, and that time's flown.
Oh,
crazy amounts of time. But yeah, time is your most expensive currency and your most important. I feel like
once you start realizing how important your time is, you're going to be very selective with who gets your time.
Yes, that's very important to put into consideration as well.
You
realize who you want.
People you choose to be involved in having an hour of your time, having 2 hours of your time, you should actually be selective with who those people are. Because if you're giving your time away freely, like sure, give away your time away freely if you're okay with that. But are you choosing the right people to give that free time to? Like if you're giving it to someone that isn't deserving of your time, that's just gonna decrease your mood. You're gonna feel like shit. You're actually gonna adopt mannerisms that you hated, and then you're gonna become a person that you didn't want to become in the first place. And I feel like people these days have become, not these days, but like all throughout time, you always know people pleasers. I feel like everyone in their own way is some sort of people pleaser.
I noticed that I used to be. Yeah. I used to be someone that would always try and make everyone around me happy, and I never focused on my time at all. And I was the last person to focus on me, which is probably the silliest thing to do because
I feel like that's a massive male thing. Because I've always been like that too. I actually care more about how my sister, how my mum feels rather than myself.
Yeah.
And I'd rather put myself down and make sure that they're kept up.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of how we were raised in a way, in a very European
100%,
household.
I think
but like realizing that our time should be important to us as well is important. Like, we can be the rocks for our family. Yes, we can be rocks for our partners, but we've also got to become rocks for ourselves so then we can become better for them. True? Yeah.
Wise words, Brendon. I swear we've had this conversation before.
Yeah, we have, haven't we?
But I think that's a good way to word it. It's like your time is precious, and if you focus on you, like with training and nutrition and like all the things that we talk about as personal trainers, apart from that, you put yourself into consideration first, and then all the other things will fall underneath and help you sort of stay afloat. Like it's like creating your own raft, and that's the one thing that I speak to my my clients about is you've got to learn to build your raft before you can float.
Yes.
So like
build your foundations.
Build your foundation, like a building.
When you're building a house.
Let's say units, because units, you have to drill the foundation into the floor first, then pour the concrete, and then you can lay the big slab. Then you can build the bricks on top for layer 1, and then you can build the next slab, and then the bricks for layer 2.
But people only notice the finished product, don't they? Because before the finished product, you just got these ugly fences, and you got construction workers everywhere leering at you from the streets.
Some people don't see the end result because of the perspective.
People don't see the process.
People don't see the process, but people always see
the finished
the
product.
first impression. The first impression is the building, and they go, "Oh, that looks ugly. I don't reckon it will turn out nice." Yeah. And then 6 months go by, and they drive past and they go, "Oh my god, that house is awesome.
That looks beautiful. Wow, beautiful. I want to live in that house. I want to live in that unit."
And that is the beauty of time, my friends. The beauty of time is that it's just going
evolution.
It's just of everything's evolved. Oh, there we go. What a segue. Then we didn't plan that. That was actually not planned.
But on that note, I feel like we should actually wrap up this episode.
So to summarize everything that we've spoken about the importance of nutrition and balancing your lifestyle. We've also talked about the importance of your mental health, the importance of tapering off and having some time for yourself and focusing on you. Time is important, mental health is important, fitness is important, nutrition is important, but find out what is important for you, because that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I feel like the key takeaway is time is precious.
Time is
Use
precious.
it wisely, spend it wisely, and think of time as money.
It's been the boys from the Evolv podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in episode 3.
And we'll see you soon.
Ciao.
Later.